The fact that you are likely very intelligent, well-educated, experienced, and perhaps successful already, it makes my job that much more difficult. I know from experience how difficult it is to read the works of Kahneman, Ariely, and Tversky, and see yourself as their flawed subjects. But until you do, the odds of you actually learning from it and experiencing that leap forward are drastically reduced. Let me share with you how I made the leap. How a mistake made me a better investor. Daniel Kahneman, one of the leading experts in cognitive psychology and author of some of the most widely read books on the subject, discusses the futility of teaching his findings in a section of Thinking Fast and Slow, titled, "Can Psychology Be Taught?" You'll have to read the book to learn why he came to the uncomfortable conclusion that teaching psychology is mostly a waste of time. But I will share with you how I arrived at that same conclusion, as well as the mistake I made more than 20 years ago that enabled me to break through the barrier, shifting from a spectator to a practitioner. One of the fundamental tenets of cognitive psychology is that we essentially have two systems at work in our brain. Kahneman calls them System 1 and System 2, although Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein refer to them as planner and doer. What you call them isn't nearly as important as recognizing that there is a part of your cognition that is automated, intuitive, and quick to draw conclusions, whereas the other part is more deliberate, methodical, and intellectually demanding. When you read about these abstract characters, you may or may not agree that they relate to you, but you undoubtedly recognize their existence in others. Even if you do see these two distinct systems playing a role in your decision-making, it's unlikely you could do so in real time. Of course, with the benefit of hindsight, your task is made much simpler. If your decision resulted in an unfavorable outcome, you are likely to attribute the decision to System 1 thinking, a temporary lapse in judgment, bad luck, or perhaps another person. If the result is positive, of course, we rarely seek an external source to apportion credit, least of all luck. In the moment, though, when we are gathering information, interpreting it, processing it, drawing conclusions from it, or making decisions based upon it, it is almost impossible for us to recognize whether we are employing mental shortcuts that are likely to result in a systematic error in judgment, or if we are objectively analyzing the situation, drawing upon our wealth of knowledge and experience to reach a thoughtful conclusion. I mean, how do you define an action as dogmatic versus disciplined before the outcome is known? How do you differentiate between an impulsive decision and one based on educated intuition until after the result is experienced? The truth is, although the difference may appear glaringly obvious with the benefit of hindsight, it can only truly be objectively judged at the moment of inception. Those who have difficulty coming to terms with that subtle, yet significant difference likely have a great distance to cover before becoming practitioners of cognitive science themselves. So, how was I able to make the leap from someone who had spent years simply studying the cognitive sciences to becoming a practitioner? I owe it all to my mother-in-law, and a simple mistake I made on March 24th, 1994. I know the exact date because it occurred in the hospital, one day after my first child was born. My mother-in-law asked if I'd like something for lunch, and I gave her my order. 45 minutes later she returned, handing me a sandwich and saying, "Here's your veal parmigiana hero." My hand automatically jerked away. "I didn't order a veal parmigiana hero," I stated emphatically. She insisted I had, and we went back and forth before I finally introduced reason to the rhetoric. I explained that while the veal parmigiana hero had been one of my favorite foods as a kid, after seeing a video years earlier which showed how calves are treated in order to make veal, I had made a conscious decision never to eat veal again, which is how I knew beyond the shadow of a doubt that I hadn't ordered a veal parmigiana hero this time. She apologized, I skipped lunch, and life went...